Well, first of all, I welcome you to this meeting. Soul planning is so near and dear to my heart. I did not know about it. I'm at 27 years on this journey, but I did not know about soul planning for 14 years. So that gives you an idea of how long I was without this information, still making my way through grief and still finding that which was helping me in all the ways. But when I got to the soul planning, it was just like, this is the piece that was missing for me to see the beautiful spiritual collaboration. And I'm going to use some words tonight that I hope that you'll write down that may be just nuggets down the road for you. But spiritual collaboration is something that my son Scott gave me. I do channel him. He is my source of so much information. We've written blogs together. I had no idea this would ever happen. I had no spirituality in me, well, that I knew of. And I never knew that this was a possibility. So it's open to anyone, I find, if it's on your soul plan. We don't know what's on our soul plan. That's basically where we are, why we don't know as much as we hope that we would know, or that we're so unsure of this journey, because absolutely when we enter onto this journey, we are on the other side of the veil, right? We're not prepared for this, and none of us really could have been. I know that there are parents who at times have sensed something, that their child wouldn't be here long. I validate that on a soul plan for sure. And yet I had no idea that my son, who was 19, died of strep throat, seizure disorder, elevation and dehydration in a national park 1,000 miles from our house. So my only child. And so that was the beginning of my journey of not knowing anything. So what I'm teaching you tonight is what I've learned that has helped me tremendously, that I so want to pass on to you. This is sanctioned through HPH. We do not need to really go through the message that Christine had read last time, that Elizabeth or Irene or someone reads, but we're going to follow the same guidelines to honor everyone's messages, to listen, to remain muted unless you're asked not to. So I appreciate that with all of you. So when the soul planning, I have this note that I put up for myself sometimes, and I'm going to give this to you too. If you can see that, from no to no. And this is kind of what we're doing on this journey, right? We're going no, no, no. And then we're learning a little bit more. And then we get a sign, or we get a message, or we hear a song from our child, and we go from no to no. So this is what I think, every meeting that you go to, every podcast you listen to, every book you read, you are slowly bringing this into your knowing, that you're going from no, this couldn't have happened, no, I can't believe this, to really knowing more. And this information and being able to assimilate more as you're finding out. I'm sure those of you that find helping parents heal so early on your journey is such a gift. And I'm sure that you know that as well. I don't even have to tell you. But overall, what we're all doing with our children and with each other is that we're using something Scott taught me, which is spiritual collaboration. We are working together as a group, as parents, as children, in ways to increase our awareness, to see more, to be able to understand that this journey that we are taking with our children was always designed to come to be. I did not know this early on. Some of you knew this more than you knew some of this even before your child transitioned. And so when we talk about being a spiritual being, I'm a spiritual being, you're spiritual beings, we never really look at that. We just always see ourselves as human beings, right? But the more I get into this and the more I understand, I also want you to know that you're spirit, your child's in spirit. And so when we bring this together, it makes our world not so distant, far apart. And so when I say the words that actually the title of this workshop, which is, soul planning, living between two worlds. We're in those two places originally. We are bridging the gap. The more you know, the more you hear, the more you learn, the more you are open to this, the more you're bridging that gap about where your child is, your children, and where we are. It does take time to assimilate. It does take effort. And, sometimes I don't remember that I'm a spiritual being every single day, even though I've been doing this for this long, because we get very caught up and very, the human experience takes us places that we need to be as well. So the soul journey, really, what it means is it can be called pre-birth planning as well, where we plan our lives before we are born. And most of you would say, well, I would never have planned this. Sure, I would have too at the time. I never would have said, I'll do this. I'm never going to be happy with this. I'm never going to want this to happen to Scott. And yet, when we're in spirit, when we're in a different place than we are in our body, meaning that we're in spirit, we're working with other spirits, we're working with God, we are one with all of that. All that knowing comes into planning a lifetime at a time for us. We would meet with our children, those who are going to be our children in this lifetime, a soul family that we have met up before, that we have lived with before. We've had many lifetimes, all of us, with our children and with others that are in your life today. And so this big picture, I want to kind of bring it home so you can understand we plan our lives before we are born with our children. There's always something going on with us. It's for the greater good. We understand that when we're in spirit. We know that there's a lot of learning that's going to take place. There's going to be pain, but we also learn that pain teaches. And we wouldn't have done this if we weren't forced into it. But in spirit, we know how powerful this is. We know the lessons and the experiences and those that we meet and those things that we start to become on this new journey are so essential to us and to other people. Me, I knew no one else who had lost a child in 1994. 5 months later, I saw an article in the newspaper and I contacted the newspaper because a mom had written about her child passing away. And that was the first person that I met after Scott passed. And she and I became friends. And it was something that was so, I know how you feel when you find somebody that really resonates with you. This is what happened with my friend Marty. And so we find those that were meant to on this journey, also pre-birth planning, a part of that. Soul planned, I'll call it from now on. But it would be a soul plan that we're meant to meet up with those that were, those that will be helpful, those that will also teach us what not to be, those that will teach us empathy, those will teach us compassion, those will teach us the contrast that we don't want to see in ourselves or in others. But spirit works in magical ways, and they use contrast in so many ways. So this big contrast that we're living in now of having our children apart from us, it appears, and even though we can tell you 100 times until you've felt that or gotten a sign or something that makes you feel connected to your child, that's very hard to take in. But the more you know, right? The more you know, the more you will know. And so this hour, I hope to bring enough nuggets to you to be able to understand that which has helped me tremendously and others as well. I was opened up to soul planning by Robert Schwartz. Some of you have maybe seen him, have listened to him, have read his book, Your Soul's Plan. So in this book, I just was amazed with what was going on beyond what I could have ever known. And in this way, I got his book right away. It was not called Your Soul's Plan at the time. I actually have the other book. It was called Courageous Souls, because Robert Schwartz co-authored, he initially published his own book. So this is mine. You see the post-it notes. Can you see the underlining? Can you see, oh my goodness, this book just opened my heart and my connection up with Scott in so many ways. But I love that Robert had used the words courageous souls. I look at each of you as courageous souls for coming here, for taking for taking the steps that are going to show you even more on this journey than maybe you imagined. But each step is so vital, is so important. And what I've learned, and I have a bunch of quotes here that I'm going to tap into at different times, is that we are the essential workers of our soul, each of us. We're looking for our children. They already see us. They already know our soul. They know us through and through. They know you're here tonight. They know where you'll be tomorrow at 3:00 p.m., no matter what time zone you're in. But when you can take in words like, I am the essential worker of my soul, you're doing this tonight to feel the connection with your child, but also for your soul's work and who you become. And those of you that might be a little bit further along are getting to know who you are in ways that you wouldn't have known prior to this transition and never could have imagined the things you're doing. And as I said last week, I could never have pictured myself doing this. I was a teacher. And when Scott was born, I stopped teaching. I stayed home as a stay-at-home mom. And then I worked for Maybelline Cosmetics for 13 years. Not exactly a really deep job, but it was fun. And I really, really enjoyed what I was doing. And then the minute that Scott transitioned, I didn't care about Maybelline. I still wanted mascara, but I did not care about that job. It just did not bring the meaning that I needed, the depth to my life. And so I worked for 2 more years. I know I needed to do that monetarily, first of all, financially, but I also could look back and know that those 2 years showed me a lot about myself. Those first 2 years. I got up in the mornings when I needed to. I would come home exhausted, but it kept me moving. I wasn't in bed. I wasn't just doing some things that I might have just done otherwise. I was actually investing in life still, my life, which I was kind of forced to. We all are. But I found a lot about myself, and I'm almost grateful for those 2 years that I had to work. And Maybelline, by the way, was a fabulous company, and they gave me time off as I needed it. So I was working with women, and they understood, what I was going through. So another part of this that I want you to know, another really important quote to me that I learned last year. I see the obstacles on my path as the path. So when you're looking at your soul journey, and we've always looked at life, let's just say we always look at life, we want it to be happy, we want it to be good, we tried to provide for our children as much as we could, we wanted them to be happy, we wanted them to grow up to be, good citizens, all of that was so important. And we didn't want the obstacles on their path, right? We wanted to ease this path for our children as best we could. But when you when you look back on some of the things they had to go through, did they grow from that? Did they see something in themselves they wouldn't have seen before? Most likely. The same as for us as moms and dads. When you can accept or you see the obstacles on your path as your path, you don't have to fight as much. It's like, I didn't expect this. I didn't think this would happen. For me, I didn't think my grief counselor would turn against me at some point after being with her for 15 years. But I started to look at it as something different than just being hurt. That she had issues too. What they all are, I'm not sure, but it was something I couldn't have ever expected. And so when you take those things that are mind-blowing, just like the transitioning or death of our child, when you start to look at these obstacles, every step that you're taking that feels like it's stopping you, the friend that doesn't agree with that you're doing a spiritual path and you're talking about this, or they don't believe in signs, all of these things you can look at as like making you angry. Yes, they hurt initially, but when you can go back to that statement, I see the obstacles on my path as my path. It would not have come to you unless you were meant to be hearing that or feeling that. And so what do you do with that? Well, they have a soul journey as well, that other person. Our children had another soul path that we didn't even know about. Nobody told us our children were going to leave. And whatever obstacles they went on their path, whether it was addiction or whether it was fear of something, whether it was not feeling assured of themselves, whether they had a handicap or challenged in some way, whatever it might have been, those obstacles were on their path as well. And, we would encourage them, certainly, and try and help them in any way that we could. And yet, many of you found out you could not change the course of that lifetime that your child was living. Scott suddenly had a seizure at 15. The night before, he had won 9 awards for outstanding ninth grader. 9 awards, outstanding this, this, this. The next morning at 6:00 a.m., I hear him snoring. I went into his room, nudged him. He turned around and looked at me with the most blank look I'd ever seen. We called the paramedics, called 911. We didn't even know, but he'd had a seizure. He'd never had seizures. That was the beginning of another journey when I found out that I couldn't control Scott's health. I could not have stopped what happened. So now we had it as a 15-year-old. Now we had a seizure disorder that was taking us new places. Again, we looked at those obstacles as his path. We didn't fight it. We embraced it. We did the best we could, and he did too. And yet, it taught me a lot about life from that moment on. And so when you begin to see this pre-birth planning that you have done, that you can't even believe you planned, but you know that this experience that you're going through right now is real. You have to face that. And we know that there are obstacles, but we also know there's beautiful aspects of this. The people that you're meeting in helping parents heal. Maybe the friend that comes out of nowhere that becomes such a good friend to you and understands you more than you ever thought before, and they had kind of faded into the background. Or you get a puppy that changes your life, and it's like, oh, I needed this kind of love. I needed this. And so you see on this path those people who come into your life. Christine Monchek here, who lives at 15 minutes from me, and we work together now on the Angel of Hope Children's Memorial that I was told to build at a memorial. The words passed through my head twice. And I met Christine sitting at the Angel one day, the memorial that has an angel statue in the center. Do you want to explain that, Christine? What happened that day?
Sure. It was actually my first Mother's Day without my son Andrew here physically. He had passed in July of 2014. And so it was May of 2015 that I was at the Angel and I was deeply grieving. And I just kept saying and crying that I need hope. I need hope is what I was saying to the Angel. And this little silver car came pulling into the cemetery and um, stopped at the Angel. And this little blonde lady got out of the car, and it was Sara. And I just embraced her. I didn't know who she was exactly, but I knew her from her picture, but I had never met her before. But I look back now and I know without a doubt that that was a soul plan moment. Absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah. So we can't make those moments up. We can't make them
Mhm.
happen. They are pure spirit. They're they're part of our soul's work. And so when we can embrace the toughest times and know that there will be other times that are beautiful, magical, that come from a friend or someone that most unlikely, as I said. And so we start to see this bigger picture that we're living in. And when we say that we're living between two worlds, can you begin to believe that your child is orchestrating so much of this with you, for you, because they see what we're doing? And when you can start to believe that and take that in and not, I mean, you're going to feel alone. Believe me, I know that feeling. You're going to feel alone. You're going to beg them to come. You're going to beg them for a sign. And if it doesn't come right away, that can be so heartbreaking. I know. But they also know that there needs to be times when we reach out to someone else or we go to that book. Have you ever opened up a book and right to that page, there's a message that can help you? That's happened to me so many times. So we also need to do this because we are that essential worker of our own soul, that we need to find ourselves on this journey as well. Our kids know this. unbelievably, all these years, Scott shows me so many times he knows where I am. He knows what I needed. Um, and yet I know that there's been times when I've cried and begged that he just didn't appear. I wanted a dream so badly. I wanted this. I need this. But the love also comes like we did as parents with tough love. Do you understand this? Didn't we all use tough love with our kids at times? Like, you know, I just can't, I just can't give you all that you want right now. I have to just kind of teach you that life is hard and that, this tough love thing is going to say, I got to do this right now as a mom or dad or sibling even. And ultimately we learn through life to shore ourselves up sometimes, to find another path, to find another way to that which we wanted. But I also know that everything on our soul plan is going to come in perfect timing. So those of you like, for Catherine, who today at 7 months, went to see what meeting was on Helping Parents Heal Tonight. And it was this meeting. And then she wrote me and knew that Sean had something to do with this. So when we start to see the path in perfect timing, then we are also opening up to another part of this huge soul plan that we knew nothing about before this, most likely. So I want to answer your questions. I'm going to give you a couple more quotes. I don't know if you want to write these things down. Another part of this is that we are connecting the dots of our soul planned life. Someday, like I'm able to, Christine able to, more too, and those of you that have been doing this for a while, you begin to see you're connecting the dots to your soul planned life. Your human life too, but you're beginning to see yourself in ways that you couldn't have ever seen yourself before. Is it courageous? Is it courage? My goodness, yes. It's courage to take every one of those steps. And it's also courageous to start leaving some of your old thinking behind and move into something that's feeding your soul on this journey. And some of you may have a faith that you have lived within forever. And suddenly this happens, your child transitions, and everything maybe that you learned within that faith in a church, whatever, becomes less helpful. If that should happen, I'm not telling anybody to leave their church or any belief system that you have by any means. That has to come from you, and it would come in an organic way that you felt something wasn't feeding you or servicing you or showing you what you needed any longer. That is you nurturing your soul and saying, I need this more. I need to understand this big picture with my child. And so you are connecting the dots of your soul planned life, but we're also discovering our soul's voice, a voice that I didn't even know I had either. I'm channeling a lot of this to you right now. I'm bringing through that which they know that you need to hear, and that you can just put that in your mind, carry it, as I said last week, in your pocket. Like, I don't really understand all this right now, but I'm just going to store this away and see if this helps me down the road, because this is a journey of time and years. As I said, I'm still learning at 27 years since Scott transitioned. You are moving further along than I ever was. I can tell you that, because the veil has thinned. And I'm so happy about that, even though this is, torture to you. So I'm not saying it's easy, but the veil, that's what we've always heard, that's between us and spirit, is thinning. There's more mediums than ever before. There's more channeling than ever before. There's more dreaming. There's more meaning. There's more coming through, because spirit wants us to understand this. They want us to be able to connect to a journey that is not so void of meaning, of purpose. For our children's memorial, I sold the bricks. I did the bricks. Christine does those now, but we have memorial bricks at this children's memorial. I met a mom in 2005 that she had lost 4 children, stillborn, miscarried, actually like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. And she came to the angel with her grown children, because she did have other children, but she never had had anywhere to see her children's names. Her first baby was taken away from her because it was stillborn. She never even saw that child. So the old days of what moms and dads and families had to go through with their children and about not talking about them once they transitioned has certainly changed to today, where we can talk about this openly. If you're in the right place, right where you are now, and to open this up to you. And I know you'll keep expanding and seeing more as we answer the questions here. So I want to say a couple other things that I said last week. First of all, you're not a human being having spiritual experiences like an occasional spiritual experience. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. Let's make that spiritual part of you more predominant than the human, even though it feels very human. The more you write this down, the more you say this to yourself. Our kids are in spirit. We're a spirit that came into a body. We said we're going to do this work here. We're going to learn more. And therefore, when you can say those words, I'm not just a human having a spiritual experience occasionally with my child. I feel that connection. I feel that. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. So really, truly, we're spiritual beings having human experiences. Again, another something to just carry with you as you move through this journey. So I see some questions are coming through. I do want to ask or get Christine, if you'd like to help with that. And thank you for putting the quotes up there. I love that.
Sure, you're welcome. I will start with the first question that came through, which is, let's see here. I'm just scrolling down to get to where I need to be. From Blanca, she says, how does free choice, yours and others, affect your soul's plan?
Wonderful question. As I explained this last week too, is that you might get different messages from different people, but what I clearly know, what I've been taught by Scott, by Spirit, and what I live by now, is I believe that we don't have free choice. I believe that everything we planned before we came into our body was when the choices were being made. You know, we're told, how many ways are we told we have free will? You know, we have freedoms here. We get to make our own decisions. But let me just say, what if all of that was already planned? And you think it's your free will happening, but it was always an experience that was meant to happen to you. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'll go run through that again. Free will is something that is a very human part of us. We feel we have the choice to make decisions. We chose our husband, or we chose we choose our clothes, we choose those big things in life, we choose what college to go to, or we chose not to go to college, we became a nurse, or we became an Amazon worker. Whatever it was, it felt like our choice. Let me say this again. It was always meant to happen, because it takes you new places, whatever you do, whatever choice you make. You'll meet new people. It may be people that don't agree with you. It may be people that do agree with you. There's so many different aspects to what you could say your free will led you to, that you came tonight because you wanted to. I believe you were meant to be here. And I believe also you were meant to find helping parents heal, because something in your soul said, I need to see people. I need to talk to people, moms and dads who understand me. And there's a sibling group for them as well. Do you see what I'm saying with the free will? It might make us feel like we have control. It might make us feel like we are more powerful, that we have big decisions that we have to make. But I would say, and this is what I'm getting from Spirit, it was already in the plan. It just feels like it's human to us, like we made that decision. But if it took you to a new place, if it took you to a new city, if it took you to a new group here, if it took you to meeting new people, whatever it could be, that you started a company, think about it. Steve Jobs, okay, he started Apple. Where did those thoughts come from? I mean, really? He wasn't reading books about it because that wasn't even available. Where did all those thoughts come from? Anyone that does that, Spirit, right? So Steve Jobs, who's now passed, would, I'm sure, say, I am a spiritual being, that all of that information came into my humanness because we were entering a new era of time. We were into the computer age. We needed more coming. He was the chosen one, let's say, that he said, I'll come in for that. And what I'll produce will create so much for other people. Elizabeth Boyson. Yeah, it sounded like, I mean, I'm sure it felt to her. I have this passion. I want to help other parents. I want others to see more. I want them to know there's a spiritual journey involved in this. Where did it really come from? It was downloaded into her. She was meant to do this. It's life-changing for her. And it's carried her now 10 years in to what she's doing. It was always a part of her soul plan. Does that help you understand that? If not, you can always write me or write another question here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, Sarah. Jackie says, my daughter came to me in a dream and told me not to cry because she was coming back to me in April. How can I interpret that dream?
Wow. That's very interesting. I don't really have all the answers for that. I think that we as humans, we come up with like one option of that, like what April might mean. And that spirit has maybe 10, 15 options of what that could possibly be as well. So we can't really know for sure in that dream. I wish I could give you specifically, but you know what you know what you heard her say. And so you wait to see what that means. And I hope you wrote the dream down. I hope everybody writes your dreams down. I hope you take notes on everything that's going on in your life and the signs that you get in ways to journal this, because these can be so valuable down the road. And also, I'm not even sure it could be this April. It might be another April, you know? So we have to be open to that, but I would keep that note in your mind, in your journal, and wait to see what would come. Because she knows something more than you do, right? They all do. All of our kids know more than we do. We're kind of the students and they're the teacher. We're not kind of, it's really the truth. We're the students and they're the teacher. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. So Janine is asking, so we have free will in our spiritual selves before this human life. The plan, in quotes, is ours to make, just not here in our human experience.
Let me get that straight. So you're saying that we truly, yes, we made these decisions, these choices, because everyone that we're going to come into this lifetime with has made those decisions to come into this lifetime with us. And so when we get here, are we talking free will? Did you get that from that question? Is that what she was asking?
Yes. So
Okay.
about, the plan, our soul plan is ours to make, just not here in our own human experience.
Yes. Decisions that you make were always going to come from you. They were always going to lead to whatever was next, because it's a journey of opening you up to more.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Oh, we've got lots of questions here. Can you explain the veil? And that question is from Teresa Woods.
Yes. The veil, well, it's like a veil on a dress or clothing. And so it's a thin, part of who we are. And I just changed the view here. I'm not sure I should have, Christine. Are we in speaker? Did you have
Yeah.
a speaker?
Yeah, I'm on speaker view for you. Yep.
So I'm sorry. So when, now I lost track of that. Can you bring that back to me? Why are they doing this to me?
Can you explain the veil?
Okay, the veil. So VEIL, the veil, like a bridal veil or a thin curtain. The veil has been a term that has been used for many years from what I can understand. But there's always been this, we know what we're doing on the other side of the veil. We've planned this. But then we are born and we forget everything that we planned. Because when you come into the human body, you come in with none of that or very little of that knowing. Sometimes some of that seeps through. So in the past decades, years, that veil was always a term, like it kind of separated us between spirit. So the veil being lifted, and I've been given the image of an open window with a curtain, a thin curtain that's flying between the window. When the wind blows, the curtain kind of flows out the window and comes back in. So the information from spirit is flowing in through that veil, through that window. So the veil is being lifted in ways that it wasn't even in 1994 when Scott had transitioned. The veil that separated us from spirit and knowing what we planned in this lifetime. So what you're learning today about your soul plan is that everything that you have already done in this lifetime, each of you as parents, everything you've already done was on your soul plan. Every decision that you've made, every person you've met, every job that you've had, every love that you have, everything was already planned. So you can already see your soul plan up to this point when you look at that. Did you make mistakes? They were always lessons. So the more we know about what we planned before we were born, which is really on that other side of the veil, until the veil starts lessening and opening it up and bringing it through. Our kids are bringing through that veil that once separated us from knowing the spiritual part of this relationship. That's the veil. It's lifting. And spirit is doing that. We cannot do that. Spirit has to do it on their end to bring us the information that they want us to know about our souls, our work, our lives that are now spiritually guided.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, another question here from Eileen. And it says, I struggle with the idea that if every decision is planned, then why go to Earth School? We could do it all virtually. Is the purpose just to feel the difficulty of feelings that can't be felt on the perfect other side, or also to struggle with the decisions, the openness, guidance, influence, and the struggle to feel self-compassion and compassion for others who hurt you?
Yes. Yes. The earth has humans on it, right? There's human beings walking the earth. And so the plan from day one, I guess, was to always have spiritual realm and the human existence. So we can't do this virtually. That seems like it would work. And maybe someday, I don't know how this will all turn out, but we are the humans right now having human experiences, having spiritual experiences. We come to experience life, but we also create as humans. And spiritually, with no bodies, now with our kids and everyone in spirit not having a body, they cannot create what we can in the human body. As I use Steve Jobs as an example. You look at anyone that's been a creator of something in here, Steven Spielberg with movies, or someone who designs the next supercar or whatever, each of those, or going to space. The human has to create that experience for everyone that's around them, that works with them, that listens to their words. The human experience is vital to Earth. And we can't just all be in spirit and still have the earth with human experiencers on it. We know this when we're coming here because we've all been here before, time and time again. So I hope that helps you understand that it seems like it would be so simple just to stay there, but there is great meaning and purpose in this. And when you look at everything as having meaning, every word that you've said to someone, every smile that you give someone, you can change somebody's day by just giving them a smile. Can't really do that in spirit because not a body. And so the human experience is really so important to the earth moving on. Look at what happens in the 1800s to the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. Look where we are today in 2022. They're seeing shifting and moving and new inventions, and Zoom came into be, right before COVID, so we could have these meetings. who discovered Zoom. I don't know that person's name or a group of people, but they opened something up to all of us that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And that was a download from spirit that they had planned on that came into the human body. So the human body is vital to all of this that spirit needs us to be doing, and for the world to keep doing what it's doing, which isn't always easy to see. We know that. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. The next question is from Janice. And she's asking, in addition to Robert Schwartz, are there any other reading materials that you would recommend or any other resources?
Well, one of the books that helped me tremendously, because I wanted to understand the depth of this journey that we go on, and our soul plans also are sometimes are always balancing past lives that we've had. And so an interesting book that I found that really helped me a lot was Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. He's also on Facebook. He's written a ton of books, but this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, it tells about people who, human beings, basic like us, human beings, who have terrible headaches or huge fears, or they don't understand, themselves and why they dislike their mother, let's say, or they don't understand why something happened to them. Brian Weiss was a psychiatrist that happened to just put a woman into meditation for healing, and she started bringing past lives out. So he's been doing this now for, 30 years. It's very insightful in that way. He has another, this one is through time into healing. So I don't know, does anybody else have a book here that they'd like to suggest that helped you with soul planning? Because basically Robert Schwartz's book opened me up. I met him, he's had pizza in my house. We've, spent time together. And so it just opened me up. I don't agree with everything that he gets now, which is really interesting, but that contrast brings learning and growth as well.
Okay,
Right.
wonderful. Thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Mahina is asking, what is the soul plan based on? And do souls have different vibrations and or different brightness on the other side based on their human form life? How is life on the other side?
Okay. On the other side, everyone is light. No matter what they've done in this lifetime, that can be hard for some of us to understand. But everyone that's come into the body is doing what they came here to do, to create, as hard as this is to see. But when we leave our body on that perfect day, when we're complete, we all go to spirit into the light. There's nothing but love there. And when we get there, we know what we created. We know that we came in to create havoc. And if we create havoc, then there's always that contrast of someone creating peace, trying to find peace. So you look at anything like that, but I do want you to, staying on this part about what's happening in spirit, from what I get, is that everyone in spirit is formless. I used to think that Scott was playing soccer there early days of all this. I wanted him to be happy, having this great, great life and just living in a way that I would be perfect, right? With no holds barred, no pain. And yet what I've learned through time and through Scott especially is that we are all spirit, in spirit. And when we arrive there, we are embraced by love. We will know all that are there. We will be greeted by those that are there, but it's in a different kind of form. It's not like body to body. It's like we will see our children again, definitely. We've been in many lifetimes with them. This isn't the first one. We know them so well and they know us so well. We came into the body to kind of let all that go for a while and then learn what we needed to. So I don't get that there's hospitals on the other side, that you have to kind of redeem yourself at all. Anyone that has hurt someone else, they will come back into a body again and they will experience something that will balance that. So no one gets a free pass in a way. But when we plan these lifetimes, we know what we need to come in to do. And when we balance a lifetime, coming from spirit, doing something terrible, hurting someone, murdering someone, hurting someone, and creating so much havoc, that person will come in back into life when it's time, and they will experience what's planned to balance what they had done. So no one gets a free pass. On the other hand, when we're in spirit, it's all knowing, it's all love, it's all understanding. And that can be hard for some people. I understand that. But that is what I get from Scott, from spirit.
Thank you. That's just a beautiful explanation, Sarah. I do want to mention that Jackie had put the name of another author and a couple of books in the chat, and it's Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. Those are really good ones
Forgot about that.
as well. Yep. And Carol is asking about what about Akashic records?
Yes, I was so interested in those myself. Of course, they say this is a library where all our past lives are saved. And I didn't quite understand that in the beginning. I mean, I visualized a library like libraries are. But what I've learned in time is it's not a building. It's not like stacks of books are, up there in spirit that, you go through and you can find your past lives. It's all, again, as spirit would be, with the all knowing. So spirit knows what our past lives have been. When we get back to spirit, we will know what past lives we've had. So Akashic records, I say, are held by spirit, knowing all that they know, all that we will know, that we are in the body and we're not privy to. We're not meant to know that because we came in for this particular lifetime. When we go back to spirit, we will be aware of that as well. So there is that I know there are practitioners that tap into. I've never done this myself, so I can't really endorse it, but tap into the Akashic records to see who you've been and what you've done in the past. I can't really validate that, but I do know that there are people that do that. I just haven't experienced it myself, so I don't want to say too much more about that. But it's a term that humans probably created to give us a knowing of what that could look like, just a library full of all of our past lives for everyone that's ever lived or been in a human body. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jackie had asked me to repost the link, I believe, that Janice had shared. So I will do that in just a second here, so that everyone has that link. Teresa Woods is asking, do you think that we get brighter the more that we learn? That's a good question.
In the human body, I would say we're lighter. Yeah, we're lighter, brighter, because we're taking a lot of the things that we've carried on our shoulders and on our hearts and in the fear of life and everything that we've come through. That's dark. And I'm not saying it's dark, it's deep and it's hard. And I feel that the more we are able to see where our children are in our minds and imagine, the more we know we're connected with them still. That takes some things away from our fears and our concerns that we came into. Thinking, fearing, knowing what people tell us. The more that we individually take in for our own soul's work and let go some of the non-truths, maybe the things that we've feared, that maybe someone told us that this is what life would be on the other side, or what our child is doing, or what was going to happen, the lighter we get. And so I would say we are doing that in our own bodies as we do this. Not everyone, I've learned this, not everyone that goes through this grief process feels that their child is around them, and that is their plan. There are other groups that can't even go there. And that's why helping parents heal is so important and so vital to all of us. But that would be their sole plan. that they didn't come in for that spiritual peace. And therefore, it just doesn't come to them or it doesn't resonate with them. And they find, I have plenty of friends from my early days of grief that really don't know a whole lot about this. And yet they found their way through this journey as well. And they became volunteers and they did things in their children's memory. So they found their own way of lightening them, lightening their life and lightening their baggage, discarding it even. So everybody has a different way of doing it. But I do feel that we lighten our load by finding out these answers. Good question.
Yes. Thank you. It looks like Mahina is asking another question. She said, sorry if I missed this question, but if time allows, I would like to ask if transitioned souls have personalities which are the same or closely similar to our human self, but the ego does not exist on the other side, then how would personalities such as modest, shy, or their opposite can have meaning on the other side?
Well, first of all, yeah, we don't need all those emotions. Those are definitely human. But the cool thing is that our kids can still be themselves with us. You know, things that you knew that they loved, things that they would show you in a dream, something that you knew that they would laugh at. They can still provide that for us because their spirit is still them. And they want you to know that it's them. They haven't lost that part of them at all. That's that super connection that we still can have with them. You'll recognize things with your child that I wouldn't recognize in Scott because he was different. And yet, I think that's a beautiful part of that because we want our child to still be them to us. And that does remain. We don't need those emotions or anything like that in spirit, because when we're talking all knowing, we're talking all knowing, you know, emotionally, physically, you know, without all of that we as humans have, they carry it. Spirit does. And so they can tap into us whenever and yet let us know that it's still them. Very much so.
Thank you, Sarah. I think that the person that you had talked with earlier today, and I know she's under a different name here, under Ryan, but
Catherine?
I'm sorry?
Catherine McHugh?
Yes. She is asking, how is an unplanned overdose from fentanyl a pre-planned exit?
Well, I know this seems really, really hard to even imagine. Everything that spirit creates has meaning. And this is something that I tell my classes usually to start right off the bat. If you don't understand it, or if you do understand it, everything has meaning. And so this is such a deep thing to give an answer to. Catherine is hard. So what I'm getting is that often with these things, even though this is something that so many parents are going through, would you have said to your child, I will die first so that I can show you the way? Or I know that you're going to learn a lot while you're here, but I'll be there for you. Would you have, as a parent, would you have taken that first step for them? So let's say that they, in your working together in spirit before you came, this was the way that they were going to go. And you knew that they were going to go that way. But what does that do for your human experience besides confuse you and devastate you? But that part too can be worked on. And so who do you become because of this? How many moms and dads have gone into another career because of this way that their child passed? Or you look into this and try and help others or start a support group. Or you find yourself in doing something related to that death, or you just teach other children as you see them one by one to protect them from something like this that could happen. Not everybody is going to go and be predominantly a voice for something. You don't have to do that. but your life has been changed by this moment, no matter how your child passed, for you to find yourself in a new way. And we would take one for the team for our child to become something greater than they've ever been before, or challenged in ways they never were before, to find yourself and to find your voice, in a new way. Does that help you, Catherine? Does that give you any understanding? Everything is so much deeper. If you want to unmute, that would be fine if you want to ask more.
Yes, thank you. And 4 months ago, I would never even have wanted to share that honesty, but I've actually been doing that. I created a website and I've been going around talking about it and helping other people. You quickly get over the worry about what people think, and now I'm trying to focus on helping other people. So yeah, I just couldn't understand the pre-planned part, because he was actually doing so well. He was sober for 1.5 years and helping so many people. And he had one slip up and thought it was Xanax, and somebody had put fentanyl in there. So he was poisoned. But that's just hard to imagine, if he's doing so well, that was planned.
But all those experiences that he went through, you went through with him, but all of his individual experiences of what he went through, how he saw himself differently, how he saw himself, growing through this and finding strength that he didn't know he had before, not wanting to go down that path again. And yet those were experiences that he needed in this lifetime. And it's hard for us to know with each of our child's death, passing, how that had to be the way. And yet they know. In time, that may come to you, may come through a medium. It may come through just a knowing that you have, because they have all kinds of ways to come to us. But you're already doing a big part of what he wanted you to do from this. And he's working with you. Do you understand that? So he's working with you on this. And knowing that spiritual collaboration and that commitment that you have to him, his commitment is equally as strong as yours is to him. Okay? And so just carry that with you. And really, something that I said the other day I don't know where this is, but we learn by going forward, but we really get the answers by going backward, right? We learn by going forward, but we get the answers by going backward. And it takes time to begin to see why all this needed to be. Will we get all the answers? I don't believe so. I don't have them myself at this point. But take this journey as one of exploration, discovery, understanding, awareness. Grief pushes us to see ourselves in new ways and we want relief, or we want answers, we want healing. So it all comes as needed in that way.
Thank you.
I hope that helps some.
Thank you.
He says, trust me, Mom. I will let you know more.
Okay.
Okay.
He's actually done an amazing job. I won't take everyone's time, but he's been communicating to me. I've had dreams. I actually got an email 4 days after his memorial from him, which is a whole nother story. I've turned it into Mark Pitstick, who's looking into all of that. So he's working hard. I'm just trying to make sense of it.
It takes time, but that's your journey. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. When we can embrace that this is a journey, and wow, I didn't know I would come for this. I didn't want this, but here we are. This is the reality of my life.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I can go a little longer for sure. If there's questions, I certainly want to answer them.
Okay. I just really want to reiterate Roseanne Norris's comment. And it says, in the beginning of my journey, I, like most, rejected the idea of a soul plan. Now I think a soul plan makes more sense and brings more comfort than thinking my son's passing was random and senseless.
Thank you, Roseanne.
So yeah, I just, that really spoke to my heart as well. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you, Roseanne.
Yeah, thank you, Roseanne. And I love that you brought up the word random, because that's something that I wanted to also say, which I hadn't gotten to. But when we can believe, as you are now, that nothing is ever random, you then go into more of the reality of life, that this was meant to be. It has meaning. It's going to teach me something. It taught my child something. We're working together on this. So there's a lot of little things that little nuggets like that that can stick with you and stay with you and allow you to go deeper, with this as you move along. Is there anything else, Christine?
Yes, Liz has a question about, can you talk about some people on this earth being old souls?
What I'm getting is that we're really all old souls, but it's not in the human experience at times, it appears that there are those that know more than we do, or they feel so deep, or their words that they use are so prophetic or so knowing or wise. And so we may put someone into a category of an old soul, but they came in to be an experiencer as well, but they came in to share that part of themselves with others that would be very valuable and can be embraced. And so I'm not saying that, I mean, I could say Scott was an old soul because he certainly seemed to be very wise and all. But what I'm getting is we're really all old souls, but depending on what we come in with the human experience, that plan is meant to be expressed and shared. And so not to, like I said, not to take anything away from that, but if that person comes in with that wise, those wise words and thoughts and the way they lead their life, they were intended to. So then how do they change other people's lives? Those words of wisdom that they share with, one person or 12 people, or write a book about it, 50 people, or whatever they might do, that enhances our human experience as well. So they came in with a knowledge that we all know in spirit, but they came in soul plan to deliver those messages to us, to the public, and to live within that knowing themselves. Not to diminish anyone, but to allow you to see the human experience and what it provides, each person individually as well.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Everyone is just saying thank you, very helpful. And
well, I'm so glad that you all
Yes.
came. I'm going to be doing these periodically, these soul classes, and others I know that are here tonight have been in the class before. If you have questions, you can always go to my website, where you can email me through there. You can email me at Sara@Spirit Teaches. And you can also go to my website, spiritteaches.org. I have blogs on there that Scott and I have written, have tons of information about this. Death Teaches, another blog that I wrote, has a lot of information as well. It's like reading a book, but you're going to pick up a lot of our spiritual experiences through that and understanding. So I'm just so grateful for you all. I'm happy that you're here, that you're so invested in this. Your child knows you're here. Continue on this path. And if you see me, this will be recorded, as you know. Go back and listen to it again, or listen to last week's as well. And continue the journey. You'll get to where you need to be each and every day. Love yourself for all you are. You're courageous souls. That I know for sure. So thank you so much for coming. Hope to see you again here. Much love.
yes, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Okay, wait, one more thing. Okay.
All right. I think we still have a few people
Yeah.
that are trying to sign off, and
If you're not sure how to sign off, go down to end at the bottom of the page. Okay, bottom of the Zoom.
there you go. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this last person. I think some people, kind of walk away from their phone or get busy or
No,
something
yeah,
and
no, yeah.
they stay signed on. So I think we're good to go now. Should we stop recording at this
did.
point?
I think.
Oh, it says still recording.
Oh. That weird.